Hey, Coach. Yeah, I was curious how KJ has looked since he didn't throw it all last week. How's he been in practice?
Yeah, it's been great. Got a lot of zip on the ball, very accurate. He's had a really, really strong week, and that's kind of what we felt that he would do. But been really good, really consistent. Been a good leader. Had a nice 2 days this far.
I was wondering how much you guys have talked about capitalizing on opponent mistakes. Auburn's turned the ball over 16 times this season already. How much is that discussed? Not just about them possibly making mistakes, but when they do, making them pay for it.
Yeah, we talked about it quite a bit, actually. Certainly, we've got to take care. That's one of our goals for the week. We have to take care of the football, and we have to get some turnovers from them. But like you say, it doesn't really matter a lot unless you capitalize on the situation. So certainly have talked about it a lot. I think it'll be a key point in the football game.
Thank you.
All right. Going back to KJ for a second, where have you seen him evolve this season from last season?
A lot of confidence. Think he understands the offense better. Very percentage of accuracy on his reads has gone up. I think this has a lot to do with his confidence and being another year as a starter and the guy and all those things. But I've seen a lot of better throws, more zip on the ball. I just think he's a much better quarterback.
I know we asked you about the defensive guys this morning on the teleconference, but what about the guys on the offense, how they've looked in practice, like Crawford, Henderson, Hazelwood, guys like that?
Henderson practiced a little bit, not a lot yesterday. So he's probably still up in the air whether he'll be able to play. But he did practice some yesterday. Crawford's back, looked good. We moved him inside to play guard a little bit as well. I think him and Harris both can play tackle and guard. We're trying to get a little bit more versatility out of Tyke East and Harris. And I don't know who else you asked about. I'm sorry.
I think Hazelwood, he's been dinged up.
Yeah, Hazelwood's been dinged up. I think he'll be fine. And Bakke got a little dinged up as well, but I think he'll be fine too.
I wanted to ask you about the confidence level, maybe overall for your defense, particularly, the second quarter at BYU, you got the fourth down stop, the Clark pick, you turned both those into touchdowns. Then you got some stops in the second half when those had been hard to come by for a couple of games. How do you think they're feeling overall?
Well, I don't think I'd lie to you if I told you I think they're a confident group. We're trying to give them reasons to be confident in practice as far as our schemes and what we believe that they can do and all those things. But that's the worst thing that can happen is you lose your confidence, but to gain confidence, you have to have some success like you just spoke of getting off the field. And I think once that happens and the offense turns it into a little bit what Trey's speaking of, the offense turns it into points. I think that certainly helps your entire football team and their confidence. But we're somewhat, I wouldn't say fragile there, but we've got to continue to make plays like that you just spoke of and gain a little bit more.
Yeah, Hudson Clark, you've spoken about his versatility in the defensive backfield. I'm wondering, with the guys coming back, we saw Kari taking some reps at corner yesterday too again. Just where Hudson, could he play anywhere on Saturday?
I think he can, to be totally honest with, but we have to be fair with him too. We can't move him all over the place and expect him to have a really good game at any of them. And so, yes, I think we're thinking a little bit more with Hud as a backup plan at corner. Chavis, I think, is going to be fine. Kyrie's back. But also we know Hud can play it there and Chavis can play safety and Kyrie can. So, but I think right now we're looking a little bit more of a backup at corner and then playing at safety.
Christina?
Rocket mentioned recently that he feels like his relationship with the offensive line, just from a personal kind of locker room standpoint, has really improved. Just from an offensive line perspective, how important is that relationship with the running backs?
I think it's huge for confidence in each other. I think that has something to do with it. You see a lot of division when one or the other is not playing well. When they both play well together, I think it builds a confidence, a friendship, things of that nature. It just becomes a lot easier that way. I do believe that the line believes in Rocket and the other backs, but I believe they believe in Rocket, and I think he does the line. And they both know how valuable each other are to each other. I don't know how to say that, but how valuable they are to each other. So it's come a long way, and obviously Rocket didn't say much last year at all. Did his talking with the pads and things, and now this year he's becoming a little more vocal and a little easier to get to know.
Scotty?
Sam, just continuing on Rocket, what kind of a personality have you gotten to know or to see with him? I mean, I guess how has that personality evolved in the last year?
Very serious kid. I mean, very serious. Workmanlike, daily routine for him. If you ask academic folks, he's always the first one in there and gets his work done. If you ask anybody in the building, whether it be a coach or a trainer or in the weights, he's always on time, always giving maximum effort. That's kind of just who he is. But where he's come around a little bit more is his personality. He's talking more, not overly confident or certainly not close to cocky, but he feels good about what he's doing, and he should. And I think he's come a long way there.
Then I wanted to ask you about Auburn's defensive ends and their edge rushers. I think they've got 3 guys with 5 or more tackles for loss. Just what jumps out on tape when you look at that group?
Well, Derek Hall does. I mean, he's really a good player. I like Wooden. He's inside, but I like him. Bragg is another guy that's a good player for him. But they very twitchy, long, and have a strong desire to get to the quarterback. You know, there's a lot to be said in that as well. I really do like, they're talented, and we're going to have to know where those guys are, but you know, we're concentrating on Hall. I think he's really, really special, and we can't let him wreck our game if at all possible.
Right.
Yeah, I just got one for you, Coach. Last time you guys were there, 2020, there wasn't but 20,000 fans in the stands or something. But you played a lot of games at Jordan-Hare. Arkansas hasn't won there since 2012, but had won several games there. Just your thoughts on the atmosphere and playing 11 o'clock game at Jordan-Hare Stadium.
Well, it's a great place to play. I think it's a huge home field advantage for Auburn, just like Razorback Stadium is for us, but it's a huge advantage for them. I can't say that I was disappointed that we got an 11 o'clock game. I would much rather have 11 o'clock than a 7 o'clock. But I'm sure, you know, they're a proud program. I'm sure they'll have a lot of people there and very loud. We've cranked it up just a little bit more noise-wise, decibel wise, and things of that nature this week to prepare for it. But you know, it starts with the band. The band's on the field. They won't get out of your way. You can't get through them to get on to pregame warm-ups and all that kind of stuff. It's a special place, and certainly we're going to have to be ready for that. And you're right. 2 years ago, I don't know what there was, 17, 18, 19,000 people there, and certainly it will be different, and hopefully we'll be prepared for it. We're certainly working on it.
Bob?
Hey, Sam, we're talking to the guys on a Zoom yesterday, and KJ and Trey talked about the rapport they've built, you know, passing wise, and you know, that play against BYU where Trey worked his way back to get open so KJ could find him after he broke all those tackles. I guess looking back on that play, I mean, how much do you think maybe their rapport helped in a situation like that, having two older guys that have been together for a while?
I think any quarterback, I don't know this, but I believe that any quarterback knows who their go-to guy is. I think Trey's become that guy, that constant for KJ. And, you know, just as Burks was last year, if anything broke down, he's just going to throw the ball to Burks. You know, I think Trey's earned that right. He's catching the ball well. I about called for the punt team on that particular play because there's no way he disappeared from my view and came out of it. And then when Trey caught it, he was still short of the first down, then made a really nice run, broke a couple tackles to get the ball down another 20 yards or so. So I think they have a really good rapport. They trust each other, and that's usually when you play well is when you trust the other man, whether he's next to you, whether he's running routes, anything of that nature. So I think they have a great camaraderie between the two of them. A lot of respect between the two of them.
Yeah, and I know you got asked about Trey on Monday, I think it was, but has he played even better than maybe you thought? And what have you thought about his blocking in particular? Because obviously that's something he's had to work on as a tight end.
He always has been a willing blocker. I'm not for sure he's always been a good blocker. You know, he's always been willing. And now I believe he's really, I believe he's up to his draft stock. I think he's a physical blocker. Again, he's always wanted to, but now he has a physicality about it. And I'm really happy with him. I think he's one of the most improved players on our team this year.
And Brian Harsin mentioned this, you know, both teams are coming off a bye week. So you've had time to add some wrinkles, or I guess you don't know what to prepare for exactly. I know you don't want to say what you guys might be adding, but do you expect just some wrinkles from both teams, just given the 2 weeks to get ready?
I do. And, you know, they've done some things. They faked a punt early in the Georgia game, and they've done some things special teams wise, and they've done, you know, they've had some trick plays even late in the game at LSU and things of that nature. So anytime, it's not like a bowl game because you have more preparation time and you're not as worried about injuries and all that stuff during bowl prep because you've had a 10-day span before you go back to practice. So it's a little bit different, but I'm certain that we'll see something out of the ordinary from them.
Thanks.
Tom.
The 2014 game down there, it was tied at halftime. And then Jim Chaney and them got stuck on the elevator. Did he talk about that a good bit after all that?
We were running a wham play. You remember? We were running a wham, and man, we were rolling, you know. And I kept waiting for Chaney to come down at half. You know, he was going to make some adjustments and things of that nature. He never. He got stuck. And yeah, we'd had a better time if we'd have won the game, you know, but we laughed after the hurt went off after a while, you know, we laughed about that. And you know, I haven't talked to Jim for a while. I talked to him early before the season started. He's over at Georgia Tech helping them as an analyst, but yeah, we had a good laugh about that. That's the first and last time anybody's ever gotten stuck in the elevator that I remember.
Scotty.
Yeah, Sam, I just looked at KJ's career passing numbers on the road, and he's thrown 15 touchdowns against 1 pick. And I think that interception was the Hail Mary near halftime last year at Ole Miss. What makes him, I guess, so effective or efficient in kind of some you know, hostile road environments?
Well, I think some guys are just built that way, and some guys, you know, embrace that situation. You know, when you go into some guys play better on the road just because, you know, they're the guy on the team and they're getting booed and all this kind of stuff, and they embrace that being the guy. And I think that says a lot about KJ, and certainly he's a competitor. And he wants to do well at home and away, but I think that might just be some competitive emotions that he's having there. And he really has. You're right. He's played extremely well on the road.
Mason.
Yeah, Coach, yesterday we talked to the guys about how y'all haven't beaten Auburn. Trey said he doesn't think y'all played your best ball against them, and KJ said it's a little more personal. I was just curious if you've kind of felt that from the team this week.
Well, I think you know, KJ didn't play well against Auburn last year. I think that's a driving force for him. Obviously, they did some things that had success against us, you know, and him. Auburn's a team we haven't beat 6 times in a row, you know, and it's a big deal to us, and I'm sure it is to them to continue that streak. But I think it is personal to our guys that, you know, we've got guys on our team. We got Dalton Wagner, who's been here 6 seasons, and we haven't beat them, and that's a credit to them and their program. But yeah, I think there's a little more incentive. We've got to win, and it's going to be very difficult. But I do, yes, to answer your question, I do feel at practice that we understand that Auburn has embarrassed us 6 years in a row, and we'd like not to make it to 7th, but we got to go play well.
Wrap us up, Bob.
You know, Sam, you have beaten Auburn as an assistant, but back in 2015, you guys beat him in that
Great
wild
game.
4 over. I don't know what you remember about that game.
We ran a flip play in maybe the 2nd or 3rd overtime. I think we had to go for 2. And I said, if it's not there, I told Dan, I said, if it's not there, just check out. I mean, we'll just run the power. It was power flip. And if we would have handed power off, we'd have lost about 2 yards. I mean, I'll never forget that. And he flipped it, and we walked in and got the 2-point conversion. But I remember I said, they can't stop us, you know, just if they've got an edge player, just hand the power, you know, just check to the power and we'll be fine. And it wouldn't have worked. And they had an edge player, and we went ahead and flipped it anyway. And surprised him about like it surprised me, but we did score on it. Yeah.
I'm sorry, you're talking about Dan Enos?
Uh-huh.
Okay, as I figured, I just want to make sure you were talking about Skipper or something.
No, it was Danny Enos, and we flipped it out there and it worked.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Thanks, Coach. Appreciate your time.
All right. Go Hogs, guys. Thank you.
Yeah.